Masturbation is not a sin. I know if you're like me, but you grew up believing that it was something that you couldn't do, that wasn't for you, that wasn't allowed, and maybe you went exploring anyway and you felt immense grief, immense shame. And I'm about ready to debunk all of that and tell you the truth about what it really is. Masturbation is not a sin, and it is an exploration of our bodies to understanding what feels good and what doesn't. It is time that we stop letting other people tell us what feels good and what doesn't, and start listening to this beautiful body and what feels good and how we receive things externally. And I am challenging you to step into one of the most sacred spaces to go and learn that for yourself. But it is not just about pleasure. Let me tell you why. Women especially have been denied this right to explore their own bodies, to understand what they want and what they don't want. If you're anything like me and grew up in a culture that said you could only find your pleasure with your partner, and it was your job to figure it out together. And let me tell you, the weight and the heaviness that puts on another person to have to try and decode and mind read what feels good. It is your job to do that. It is your privilege to do that. And it's time we put an end to this silencing of owning our own bodies, especially as womb holders. It's time you go explore and play in the desires of your own body. So when you engage in a relationship, you know how to say, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And why that is so important is because it creates safety in our own body to be able to give a voice to what you're experiencing and say, no, that's not okay. Yes, do more of that. And this goes beyond just the act of sexual connection. This goes to the act of, no, this is how I want you to treat me. No, this is not how I don't want to be treated. Like, you can't treat me this way, okay? And this is just a beautiful place to begin that conversation. It is not your partner's job to help you understand what you do and you don't like, okay? We're told very much as women that our partners need to go figure that out, that they can read our minds, that they should know from our body language and by our face that we're angry. Yeah, but they don't know what the F you're angry about. They don't know what feels good. They can't read your mind. Yeah, they can go learn some things what might feel good for other women or understand other people. But honey, they want to learn from you. They want to understand exactly what you want, how to make you feel good beyond physical connection in everything in your life together. This is how good relationships go, is communicating. But you have to be able to understand what you want in the first place. And that is a right that has been taken from you. And it's your time to take it back. We don't want the partners actually to be discovering the first things we don't like. Why? Because that teaches our body that relation might not be safe. If your partner is the first one to discover you don't like a certain way of something, or it reminds you of an experience, or your body starts to tell you of an experience that happened that your brain forgot so you could survive, but your body remembered. So it's time to learn that. And it's time for you to take responsibility in creating a safe environment that is in you to go explore that, so that when you get into partnerships, when you get into relationships, you can say, no, actually, that's not safe right now. I want that to be safe one day, but it's not right now, and I will let you know when that's safe again, okay? So what it does is we train our bodies to listen to us and respond. And the most important thing about that is our bodies are always speaking a lot through symptoms, and we're told to repress that, to keep it down, to ignore it, to numb it, to distract it. But it is important that we learn to give those feelings, those sensations, a voice. In whatever way you actually communicate, to give it a voice and say no, yes, no, yes, I'm not sure right now. Let me think about that. Let me feel into that. So when we get into our partnerships, our bodies trust us to be able to say no and to be able to say yes. We are not trying to please our partner by compromising what our body has said no. Okay, do you hear that? We are no longer compromising what we learned when we go self-pleasure, when we go explore our own bodies. And in our own bodies, it says, no, we don't like that. And your partner goes and does that. You can gently say, no, honey, that's not for me. Thank you. I love everything else. That is not for me. And that puts trust and power back in your own body. And it empowers your partner. Do you see the point? In calling masturbation a sin, it disempowers you and it disempowers your partnership. And what it does is it puts you in a relationship with something outside of you. Something you can't fully fathom or understand, so that way you'll get left confused and powerless. And it is time to take your power back and help you understand what you like, what you don't like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and build that safety and trust in your own body. So not only does it build safety in our body, it builds our ability to communicate. It builds safety in our own body, and we're not relying on the safety of our partner to communicate our needs for us, to communicate what we want for us, okay? When we rely on our partner to figure everything out of what feels good and what doesn't feel good, we're teaching our bodies that it can't have a voice, that it has to speak through someone, okay? And we don't want to speak through someone. We want to speak through our own voice. And I understand some of you may speak with your hands instead of your voice, and that is your voice too. So I want to just debunk that right now. This is your voice. You communicate what you need in the form that you communicate. Many of us believe, one, that we're not worthy, and two, that we can't trust ourselves enough to be resilient, to reach out for what we want, pull it in, hold it, and get that, and actually achieve it. And when we don't believe that we're worthy of reaching out, we stop reaching out. We stop asking for what we want. We go numb. We stop pulling in things to ourselves because we're afraid to reach out. We didn't know that we could reach out and ask for that. And why self-pleasure is so important is because, what is it? Begin to build the foundations of saying, I can have this. I can have pleasure that is my human right. And I can draw it in. I can hold the tension of it. And I can achieve the pleasure. That's powerful. It is so powerful. Because then when you want to go and do other things in your life, and you have a grand vision, you want to plant a whole garden in your whole backyard, you want to go write a book, you want to go travel the world, you want to go camping by yourself, whatever it is, you've built that foundation in your body that said, I can reach out, I can pull it in, I can hold it in my body. The tension of waiting as it's building, as it's getting closer. And then I can have it. I can pick that juicy tomato off the vine of the plant I helped nourish. I can experience the most adventurous trip. I can finish that book even though I have no idea what I'm doing. And you can hold that tension over a long period of time because you started to practice it in baby steps inside your body. Do you see how powerful this is? Do you see how important this is? Do you see why someone said it was a sin and said, stop? It's because if you're powerless, you are more willing to listen to what others have to say on how to live your life, and you stop listening in here. And it's time you listen back in here. This body is full of so much wisdom. It has so much ancient biology in it. that's waiting for you to come listen and discover. That's why I'm here to help you remember. So when we do this, we build resilience in a really powerful way. A lot of times as we're learning and we're exploring and we get into exploring self-pleasure, things may not always be able to be held for a long period of time. So we might get interrupted. We might not fully reach full pleasure or the climax we wanted or the experience we want. And sometimes you might experience something completely new than you ever even discovered. But what this does is it builds a plethora of experiences and a diversity of experiences that say, okay, so I went in for this, and I got this, and this happened, and this happened. But what does this get to mean about me? And you get to decide what it means. And as you practice that over and over again, you get to journey through all the different experiences. You get to invite others into that and say, this is how it feels. This is how it went. I want to go explore this with you because I know this takes another person to do this. But I've created safety enough in my body. Trusting you've also created enough safety in your body. And together we can create just crazy magic. It's possible. I've experienced it firsthand. So when we build this foundation, what it does is builds that trust in our bodies to go do it again. To go continue to reach out, to hold it in, hold that tension, build it up, enjoy the journey, and then achieve what we want. And it builds this resilience, this trust in ourselves that is so foundational, that has been taken away from so many of us. To not trust ourselves, but to trust things outside of ourselves. And yes, we need the partnerships. We need the relationships. As a human species, we need those things. But we also need to know how to trust ourselves, how to feel safe in our own body, how to feel joy and pleasure in our own body, how to give that to ourselves. In doing all this, we become ridiculously passionate, powerful, especially the women that have been oppressed in this. I know men have been oppressed too. I'm a woman, so I'm going to speak from the voice of a woman. And we learn that we're worthy, that we can trust ourselves, that we're safe in a chaotic world, that we can be patient for things we're growing and building, and that we're resilient, that no matter what happens, we still have this foundation in us. Because you have all that, because you first held it in your own body. And when you first experience these things in your own body, then when you get to the things that feel bigger outside of you, you have this foundation. There's athletes that go and achieve crazy wild things. But do you know why these athletes can go do these crazy things no one ever thought they could do? It's because they've practiced it so much in their body. They have a source of faith inside of them that says, I can go out and do anything. Because when I set my intention to something, things pull into me. Do you get that point? When you set your intention to enjoy something, to give pleasure to your body, you are practicing your ability to draw life into you. If you feel disconnected, if you feel lost, if you feel numb, it's because you haven't drank from the well of your own experiences in your own body. Go water it. Begin. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to tell you exactly where to start, okay? I want you to get curious. I want you to be safe. And make it a holy ritual, okay? We're using that word. Make it your morning prayer, honey. Make self-pleasure your morning prayer. I'm serious. I'm so serious about this. So if you're a journaler, I want you to begin with this journal prompt. What would my life look like if my pursuit of self-pleasure with my body was my morning prayer? If you're not ready to just jump into the practice, just journal about it. Just give a moment to think about it. What would your life look like if I began my morning with self-pleasure as my morning prayer? I can't wait. What you're going to see is every ounce of your life begin to change. As you start listening to your body, as you start being able to say, no, I don't want that. Yes, I want this. You get to draw in more of what you want. If we're in a constant state of rejecting, I don't want this, no, 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 that's exhausting. And oftentimes we get pulled more of those things in so we can practice our no. But if you aren't practicing your yeses, you need to. You need to be practicing more of those yeses. So your brain chemistry, how neuroscience works, the more you draw your attention to it, the more of that is going to come into your life. And I know this can seem very esoteric. I want you to start watching as you build that confidence and that safety in your own body. Okay, and this is just a foundation. There's many ways to achieve this whole concept, but this is one power I want you to reclaim for yourself, that you deserve this. I am not a sexual expert. I'm going to say that. And so all this, take with a caveat. There are reasons why sometimes our bodies cannot fully express themselves. And if you are down this path and you're not experiencing what you want to experience, go get support. Because those things are also real. There's such things as adrenal fatigue. And especially if you're a single mama, if you're someone in a lot of high stress, it can be a huge part of it. Okay? But still, even in not being able to achieve a full climax, being able to give yourself pleasure, just even in simple touches, is so powerful, okay? This is not about getting more orgasms. I need to hear that again. This is not about getting more orgasms. This can be about getting more orgasm, fuck yeah. But it doesn't have to be, especially if you're dealing with some underlying health issues and pressures, especially if you're a woman and you have the weight of the world on your back. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with some creative exercises to begin playing and exploring.